Hey, I'm going to get started this morning by welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is what we call our Pali Canon and English study group, which I'll explain to you guys what this is a little bit later. We start each one of our classes with meditation, so I'll invite you guys to join for a meditation session. This individual who we refer to as the Buddha, he figured out how to get to enlightenment, where the mind is completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you no longer experience any discontent feelings. You will have eliminated all the causes and conditions that are producing things like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind, and it's through training of the mind that you're doing this. It's not through believing a bunch of things and hoping something good happens when you die. It's not through rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer. It's through actively training your mind. And meditation is part of that, but there's other parts to it as well. So that's why after our meditation, we'll be studying the teachings of the Buddha. So if you'd like to join for meditation, the way that I start this is with some chanting to be able to ease us into the meditation. If you'd like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. There's laminated sheets over there on the cabinet that you can help yourself, and you'll be able to chant along if you like. If you are familiar with the history of chanting in the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a way to help his students commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is how they committed them to memory. So it was a learning tool, it was a learning device. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that, where today we use it to ease the mind into meditation in order to get more benefit out of the meditation itself. During the lifetime of the Buddha, it was used as a learning tool, as a learning device, where today you might read books, listen to audiobooks, watch videos, listen to podcasts and things like this, where they didn't have those things 2,500 years ago. So they just recited his teachings through chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory. So if you'd like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. You'll see there's more benefit in your meditation because it kind of exercises the mind and helps to bring awareness to the mind. For those of you guys that are online, you'll find this at buddhadailywisdom.com. You can click on free books and then just scroll down towards the bottom and you'll see it there. If you read the English translations of these chants, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself, because he wouldn't walk around and say, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. This would be ego or arrogance if somebody did this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't have that in your mind. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other discontent feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything or expect anything from you, they were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart, you might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person too. So that's why I think these chants actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. So after the chanting, I'm going to provide some guidance to be able to help you. I'm going to essentially be teaching you or instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're all meditating. Those of you here and anyone joining us online, we'll just all be meditating at the same time. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping, someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence, while you're in that meditation and you hear a sound, you're going to experience annoyment or frustration or irritation. It's the mind itself that is causing these feelings. That's why you can actually eliminate them, because the mind in the unenlightened state craves permanence while you live in an impermanent world. So I'm sure you're going to hear sounds. And as you do, if you understand impermanence, that things arise, they change, and they fade away, and that's normal. That's the way that the world works. Then you can be at ease in your meditation and just understand that this is the way the world works. Whereas if you were craving permanence and you hear a sound, now you're going to be annoyed or frustrated. So during that period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. Then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And that's where I'll start today's class, helping you guys to understand what the Pali Canon English study group is, and then we can actually do that. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times. It's kind of like assembling a tool belt in order to use different tools at different times. So in various courses and retreats, you can learn these different positions because they're useful in different situations. But oftentimes people are learning in the seated position. So I'll share some guidance on that with you just to help you get started. So I'll share some things with you that are just recommendations or suggestions because there isn't just one way to sit. If there was just one way to sit, that would be permanence. But we live in an impermanent world. All of our bodies are different, so we're going to find different things to be comfortable. So you can use something that I'm recommending, but you could also come up with anything on your own as long as the body is comfortable. You're not interested in it being painful or luxurious. So if you're sitting on the floor, bench, a sofa, maybe a chair, a wheelchair, you can really sit however you like. But oftentimes when people are on the floor, they like to have cushions under their rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, it can impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it the same way. There's other options here as well. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. And that goes for those of you that are in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Sometimes people put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting here in a chair with my legs crossed, so that's an option as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect with your sternum up and your shoulders back. It'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation so that you can actively train it. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back because it keeps the mind attentive and alert, but it also helps you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do some chanting to ease into meditation. You guys are welcome to join in, and then I'm going to come back in with the guidance afterwards. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Potang Mahakawanhang Apiwate Savakato Mahakawata Tammo Namang Namasami Supatipano Mahakawato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang samuno Sakato rokawitu Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang Puto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Wat Tung Mahakawanang Apiwateyami Savakato Mahakawata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokawitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusrang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. As I was sharing at the beginning of class, this individual who we refer to as the Buddha, he figured out how to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is, where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You will no longer experience any discontent feelings by the time you get to enlightenment. You will have removed the causes and conditions that are producing things like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. Oftentimes people think it's the outside world that's causing these feelings, but what you come to understand through the teachings of the Buddha in a way that you can independently verify is that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. This is why you can eliminate them. If it was everyone else who was causing your feelings, you'd never actually be able to eliminate them. So the teachings of the Buddha are helping you to understand the training that's needed in order to be able to uproot the causes and conditions that are producing these feelings so that you can experience complete peace and joy. This is accomplished through gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is people think that he sat under a tree, he meditated, and instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. You need to gradually train your mind to move it to this enlightened mental state. He discovered these individual pollutions that are in the mind, and when you understand what these pollutions are and you apply the tools and the techniques that he discovered, you can actually uproot them out of the mind, and that's where the mind is experiencing complete peace and complete joy. You'll notice that the mind has focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because when you have these pollutions in the mind, you'll be hindered from that. You'll notice that you lack focus, concentration, clarity of mind, and memory. You'll notice that by the time you get to enlightenment, all your personal and professional relationships are really blossoming. That you don't have bitterness, harshness, and hostility in your mind anymore, so you're not putting that out. and you'll see that that's not coming back to you any longer. Right now, you probably have a certain amount of that in your mind. And if you look in those relationships where you're bitter and harsh and hostile, you can see it all comes right back to you. So as long as you keep putting that out, that's what's going to keep coming back to you. So by the time you get to enlightenment, you're not doing that anymore for an extended period of time. And you'll see that all your relationships, both personally and professionally, are really blossoming. They're harmonious. You'll get to a point where you're not even experiencing a bad mood any longer, that it's physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood. So we have different programs here that are helping you to be able to understand this training and how to be able to get to this enlightened mental state. On Sundays and Wednesdays, I have what's called the group learning program, where I go chapter by chapter in this first book. It's titled Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. Each Sunday, I help you guys to understand a certain chapter in this book. Tomorrow, we're going to be in chapter 2, which is titled Why Study the Teachings of Gotama Buddha. This is a kind of chapter that's going to help you to understand the reason why an individual would be interested in studying his teachings. We just recently restarted this program from the beginning, so that's why we're in chapter 2. It's a 7-month program where you can attend here at the temple, or if you're traveling, you can attend online because we live stream all of our classes. You can attend by Facebook, YouTube, or in Zoom. And as you're gradually learning on Sundays, you're learning the content from the book. And then on Wednesdays, we're teaching meditation and helping you guys to understand things there. And then you can ask questions all the way through. It's more of a traditional style of learning where I'm teaching for 15, 20, 30 minutes, opening up for questions, teaching another 15, 20, 30 minutes, opening up for questions. So you guys are welcome to join that. And all these resources and all these programs are available at no cost. You can download our books for free. You can take them and go print them. You can get printed versions by reimbursing us up for the printing cost here at the temple, or you can order them on Amazon and get access to them that way. And there's also courses that you can take. Like on Monday, I'm going to be starting a course. It's called Harmony in Relationships. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., you'll be able to learn the teachings of the Buddha that are going to help you to be able to develop harmony in your relationships. Because that's one of the places that people really struggle in the unenlightened state is in the relationships. They will have a lot of struggles interacting with the people around them. So that particular course is all geared toward helping you develop harmony in all your relationships. But it's not through changing other people. That's usually what the mind thinks, is that in order to improve your relationships, you need to change other people. You might be trying to change your parents or your siblings or your life partner, people like this. The way that the teachings of the Buddha work is it's about changing your mind. By training your mind, that's what's going to get you to the peace and the joy and the harmony relationship and the harmony of relationships. And we have other courses and retreats too. You can find all these on our bulletin board or our website and things like that. On Saturdays, we come together for what's called our Pali Canon and English study group. What the Pali Canon is it's 45 volumes of books that are this thick that collect the original teachings of the Buddha. It's the largest, most complete collection we have of his teachings. And what we've done as part of our community is we've consolidated this into 13 books, and now we share that with you at no cost. And this Pali Canon English study group, we explore volumes 2 through 13 of that book series. Today, we're actually starting a new volume. We're actually starting volume number 3. Again, we just restarted this program from the beginning too. This is a 1.5-year program where you're gradually walking through the words of the Buddha to be able to understand his teachings so that you can see what did he teach and what he didn't teach. You'd probably be surprised to hear that the vast majority of the people in the world don't study the original words of the Buddha. The average temple, the average ordained practitioner, they actually don't study with the original words of the Buddha. This is why you see so many misunderstandings in the world. That's why you might see rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer associated with the teachings of the Buddha when he actually never taught any of that kind of stuff. So if you're going to experience this enlightened mental state, you're going to need to study with the original words of the Buddha. I've been to over 200 temples in my life, and I've only ever been to one temple that shares the original words of the Buddha. So if you do the math, that's less than 1% of all the temples in the world, or at least the ones that I've visited, that are actually using the original words of the Buddha. Because it's very expensive to print out 45 volumes of books. But now with the internet and things like this, we can give it away for free because you can just download it. So normally what a student will do is they will study the foundational teachings and all of these other programs, and then they will move into a program like this where they're studying with the original words of the Buddha. Because this particular program I do differently. It's not a traditional style of learning. It's more of a study group. What I do is I have these chapters from the book where I invite students here at the temple and the students who are online in Zoom to be able to read one of these chapters. You can see this one is just essentially 3 sentences, 4 sentences. And after a student reads the chapter, I'm going to share some teachings on that to help you guys further explore this and be able to understand how to integrate this into your life and really get benefit. Then I'm going to open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to the teaching of the Buddha. If you would like to volunteer to read or you have a question here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl in the center of the room. All you need to do is come get a microphone, take it back to your seat, press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on. Just hold that up to your chin and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with them. And then when you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then for anybody who's online, if you have questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section, and I'll be able to see that and answer your question. And in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions you like that way. And you can also volunteer to read that way as well. So I'll show you guys how this program works so that you can gradually learn with the original words of the Buddha. So if you haven't studied the foundational teachings yet, it's okay. You'll learn plenty today. It's just that typically that's what people do before they join a program like this. So is there someone here at the temple or anybody online that would like to volunteer to read this first chapter? Yes, ma'am. If you could get a microphone right there, that'd be perfect.
Does you work? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ananda or Ananda? Ananda, I shall not treat you as the potter treats the raw, damp clay, repeatedly restraining you. I shall speak to you, Ananda. Repeatedly guiding you of what to avoid. I shall speak to you, Ananda. The truly dedicated will stand the test. Regard him as one who points out treasure. The wise one who seeing your faults guides you of what to avoid. Stay with this sort of teacher. For the one who stays with a teacher of this sort, things get better, not worse.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So one of the things that makes a Buddha is that they get to enlightenment without the help of any teachers or any guides. They actually are able to figure out on their own how to actually get to this enlightened mental state. Then once they get to enlightenment, they will dedicate the rest of their life to sharing those independently discovered teachings with countless people, and countless people will get to enlightenment during that person's lifetime. Then they will preserve their teachings in such a way that countless more people will get to enlightenment after their death. So this type of individual is very rare in the world. You'll go some places and they will tell you that everybody is a Buddha, but this isn't actually true. The Buddha never taught this. It's very rare that an individual is actually a Buddha. Everyone else is going to need teachers and guides to be able to help you to understand the path. Essentially, a teacher is like a tour guide. They're pointing out for you the things that you need to understand, but it's the student that's doing the work to actively learn through investigation and examination of the teachings, through reflection of those teachings to verify whether they're true or they're false, through independent verification. And then you're actually practicing the teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life in order to be able to actively train your mind. So the Buddha here is giving some guidance about a particular type of teacher and how a teacher conducts themselves. This is just one discourse of many where he talks about these kinds of things, because that's essentially what the Buddha was, is he was a teacher, right? Oftentimes people refer to him as a master teacher because he was very skilled at being able to teach people this path to enlightenment. So here he's talking to one of his very close students, Ananda, we think that this individual was probably his brother-in-law or maybe his cousin. This was a student that was with him from the very beginning of his teaching career all the way to the end. He actually lived longer than the Buddha. The Buddha actually died at the age of 80, and this student Ananda was still alive when the Buddha actually died. And this individual was with him for so long and was with him for so much time that after he died, he was the one, along with other enlightened beings, who actually started documenting his teachings because he had a very deep memory of what it was that the Buddha taught. So there's a lot of discourses where you'll see Ananda being referred to because Ananda is the one who was helping to really document the teachings and had the deepest memory to be able to explain what it was that the Buddha had actually taught him. So here he's talking to Ananda. He says, I shall not treat you as the potter treats raw, damp clay. Well, if you've ever done any pottery and you've ever experienced raw, damp clay, it actually falls apart and crumbles. You got to constantly be shaping it because it doesn't have any liquid to be able to kind of hold its shape. So you're constantly having to shape it. Right? So the Buddha says he's not going to treat him that way, where he's constantly trying to shape him, repeatedly restraining you, right? That's what you might think, that a teacher is responsible to restrain their student. And the Buddha is saying, no, that's not what I'm going to do. Instead, I shall speak to you. In other words, he's going to guide him. He's going to teach him. He's going to help him understand what is wise and what is unwise so that he can cultivate that wisdom and ultimately he can restrain his own mind. He says, repeatedly guiding you of what to avoid, I shall speak to you, Ananda. Right? He's going to teach him what is wise and unwise in terms of day-to-day life, and he's going to guide him on this path. But it's up to the student to be able to learn and then understand that wisdom and then restrain their own mind. It's not up to the teacher to walk around and restrain their students. It's up to the students to cultivate the wisdom of how to restrain their own mind. Because what's causing your mind to be angry and frustrated and sad and all these other feelings is the mind is longing, yearning. It's chasing after the objects of your affection. The mind thinks that the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. It's almost like an unquenchable thirst. The mind's like, what do I need to be happy here? More money, that's what'll do it. Let me go get some of that. So now the mind will start chasing more money, and it'll chase and chase and chase and chase. And if you get your more money, you'll be happy and excited about that. You'll get pleasant feelings. But if you don't get your money, you'll be sad or angry or frustrated. That's what's causing these discontent feelings. The mind's craving, it's longing, it's yearning. Or the mind might say, what do I need to feel happy here? A new boyfriend, a new girlfriend. That'll fix everything. Let me get one of those. So now the mind might want to chase after that for a while. And then once again, if you get it, you're happy. And if you don't, then you'll be angry or frustrated. But even if you get that boyfriend or girlfriend, over a period of time, the relationship deteriorates and you end up right back in the anger and frustration anyway. And then the mind's like, what do I need to be happy? I know. Let me go to Thailand. That'll fix everything. If I go to Thailand and eat some mango and sticky rice and get some massages and go see some elephants, that'll fix everything. So the mind might chase after that for a while. You'll be really excited. But then when it's time to go back home, you'll be like, I don't want to go back home, right? So you'll end up right back in the frustration again, right? So the mind is stuck in this continuous cycle of experiencing happiness and excitement if it gets what it wants, and then it experiences the sadness and anger and frustration if it doesn't get what it wants. This is from craving, desire, attachment. It's almost like an animal pulling. And now what the Buddha teaches you to do is how to restrain your mind to be able to be peaceful and joyful in the present moment. But the mind needs to understand the entire path of how to do that. And that's what a Buddha is going to be doing. That's what a teacher is going to be doing. Not every teacher is a Buddha, but a teacher is going to be pointing out for you the things that you need to learn and do in order to be able to train your mind to experience this ability to get to the peace and joy. And then the Buddha follows this up with, the truly dedicated will stand the test. Because getting to enlightenment, I talk about this peaceful and joyful mental state. Sometimes people think maybe we're walking on clouds and following rainbows, and somehow there's going to be all this joyous stuff that's happening along the way. Well, sure, on the path to enlightenment, there's plenty of joy. That's what it is to get to enlightenment. You're going to experience plenty of joy. But on your way to enlightenment, there can be a lot of struggles and difficulties along the way. And that's why the Buddha is saying the truly dedicated will stand the test. Because when you're down there experiencing all the frustration and anger and hostility and the guilt and the shame and the fear, it's really challenging, because as you're moving your mind away from its cravings, desires, attachments, it's going to experience pain. That the mind has gotten to the point where it has so many cravings, you're getting all these things that you want and what you expect. And when you start peeling your mind away from that, it's going to be very painful. One of the ways that I can share with you as an example is, say like this. Say you get a brand new job and you get really, really, really excited with that brand new job. You're so happy, right? It's a perfect company, salary, job, position. Your coworkers are excellent. You really think the mission of the company is outstanding. And now you get so excited to join this new company. Well, 3 years later, 5 years later, when the company goes out of business or they lay you off or you get fired, you'll be angry, you'll be sad or frustrated because you allowed your mind to get those conditioned pleasant feelings. The painful ones are waiting for you right around the corner. So if you get really happy and excited when it's sunny outside, when it rains, you'll be sad or frustrated. Or if you get really happy when your bank account balance is up here, when it goes down here, you'll be sad or frustrated or angry. So your mind right now has certain cravings, and there might be certain things that you're getting, and now you're really happy with that. Well, when you start peeling your mind away from these things and you're no longer choosing to do that, your mind's going to experience painful feelings because it got pleasant feelings when you were indulging in those things. And now when you're peeling your mind away from that, it's going to be very painful. One of the ways that I think about it is it's like walking through the fire in order to appreciate the fresh air on the other side. Or another way to think about it is it's like joining the mafia. I don't know that any of you guys have ever joined the mafia, but if you do, when you first join the mafia, and I've never joined a mafia, but if you join the mafia, when you first join the mafia, it's like, great, you've got all these friends, you've got all these new people, you've got all these new ways to make money, you've got this protection, right? Wow, really good feeling. But when you try to get out of the mafia, it's very hard, right? It's very difficult to get out of the mafia, right? So it's the same thing. You've essentially joined the mafia by having all these cravings. And now when you're getting your mind away from those, it's very painful. But when you get on the other side of that, that's where the peace and the joy is. So that's why the Buddha says the truly dedicated will stand the test, because it's really challenging to move your mind away from these things. Ultimately, it's not the object itself that is causing the difficulties and struggles in your day-to-day life. It's the mind craving for it to be permanent. So I'll give you an example of this. Let's just say that I go to this restaurant and I eat this chocolate cake every single day. And wow, when I go to this restaurant, it's so amazing. I go there every day and eat this chocolate cake. And wow, I get so happy every time I eat this chocolate cake. Well, eventually I'm going to show up to that restaurant someday and I'm going to order this chocolate cake. And they're going to say, sorry, sir, we don't have your chocolate cake. We don't have any today. We're all out. Well, if you get really excited every time you get the chocolate cake, when they don't have your chocolate cake, you'll be angry and frustrated. And the thing is that the world is impermanent. It's only a matter of time before you show up to that restaurant and they don't have your chocolate cake anymore. Well, if you see that about your mind and you know that this is what your mind's doing, what you would be wise to do is, instead of eating that chocolate cake every day, is start training your mind to not eat the chocolate cake, is to leave from that chocolate cake for a month or 2 or 3, right? Maybe you go to the restaurant and you don't order the chocolate cake. Again, this can be very painful for you because your mind has gotten such pleasant feelings from ordering that chocolate cake. And now when you go to the restaurant and you don't eat it, even though they have a big shiny chocolate cake sitting right there in front of the restaurant, it can be very painful for your mind. That's why the Buddha says the truly dedicated will stand the test. You're going to need to be determined and diligent in your progress to enlightenment. And it's going to be painful. But when you get past that and you don't have that craving anymore for the chocolate cake, and you can be just as happy when you go to the restaurant and eat the chocolate cake as when you don't eat the chocolate cake, Well, now at that point, you're not attached to it anymore. You're not craving it. So you could actually eat the chocolate cake. There's no harm in eating chocolate cake. You're not causing any harm. It's just that your mind had to let go of the craving for permanence. And the way that you do that is you're going to need to distance yourself from that piece of chocolate cake for an extended period of time. And that's the part that's very painful for the mind to experience. But once you get past that, right, that's where the fresh air is. That when you're walking through this, when you're trying to move your mind away from it, it's like you're in the fire. You're trying to get out of the mafia, and it's very painful. But now when you get on the other side of that, that's where the peace and the joy is. So it's only the truly dedicated that'll be willing to do that type of work to be able to train their mind to do that. So the Buddha talks here, he says, regard him as one who points out treasure, the wise one who, seeing your faults, guides you of what to avoid. Stay with this sort of teacher. Because one of the things that a teacher does for you is that they actually see things about your mind in your practice, your decision making in your day-to-day life that you don't see yourself. If you saw all the unwise things that you were doing, you would have the wisdom to not do those things, and you wouldn't do those things. So one of the things that a teacher does is they point out for you the areas where you're having difficulties or challenges. If you're speaking harsh and bitter and hostile, you might not see that. If you're speaking with arrogance and ego, you might not see that because early on, an individual's mind isn't well trained and they don't have the wisdom and the awareness of mind to be able to see those things for themselves. So a teacher will point those things out for you. The teacher won't restrain you and stop you from doing it, but they can point out for you the things that you're actually doing. And the Buddha says, this is a person who's pointing out treasure, right? It's kind of like, hey, student, there's a diamond over there in the grass. Did you see that? Essentially what they're saying is, hey, did you see that you used ego here with your mom? That was unwise when you were talking with that ego. Did you notice over here you were harsh and bitter and hostile with your dad? That's really unwise. Or your brothers or your sisters or your life partner or your boss or your coworkers. That's the teacher pointing out for you the treasure, right? They're helping you to cultivate wisdom by guiding you of what to avoid. They're not restraining you. They're just guiding you and helping you to cultivate wisdom. So the Buddha says, stay with this sort of teacher, because part of what the Buddha taught is as a teacher, we don't have any expectations of our students. We don't want anything from you. We don't expect anything from you. We're just helping you out of the kindness of our heart, that we don't have a price on our classes. We don't require you to do any particular thing. We're just helping you out of the kindness of our heart, that we have loving kindness and compassion for you. So if you have somebody in your corner who is only interested in seeing wonderful things happen for you, and they don't want or expect anything from you, this person is invested in seeing you become a better and better person. That's the type of person that you would like to involve in your life, because probably a lot of the people in your life right now, they have certain expectations of you. They want certain things from you. And if you don't do those things, they're going to get angry and frustrated. But a teacher who's either enlightened or very close to it, they don't have expectations for their students. They're not going to get angry and frustrated, agitated, or bitter and harsh and hostile with their students. They're just interested in seeing their students become a better and better person. So the Buddha is saying, stay with this sort of teacher, because they're pointing out treasure for you, things for you to improve, and they don't even have any expectations of you. They don't even want anything from you. These are the types of people that you would like to have in your life and in your corner. So that's why the Buddha says, stay with this sort of teacher. For one who stays with this teacher of this sort, things get better, not worse, right? Because you're constantly learning of what to avoid. You're constantly learning the wise and unwise things. You're constantly learning about how to train your mind. And this person doesn't want or expect anything from you. They're just helping you out of the kindness of their heart. So the Buddha's guiding you of how to be a good teacher, but then also how to select a good teacher too, because you would like to have this type of teacher. And you're going to need a teacher to learn and grow and develop on the path. You're not going to be able to figure out how to get to enlightenment by yourself because you're not a Buddha. Each individual student's going to need an actual teacher. So do you guys have any questions on this particular chapter, one who points out treasure? Anything you'd like to ask? Yes, ma'am. If you could get a microphone right there. We have a bunch of them in the white bowl. You just need to turn on the microphone because the people online won't be able to hear you. Once you see there you go.
I don't quite understand the chocolate cake example because I think life is too short. If I like the chocolate cake and the cake is here, and then I will definitely order it. What if I die tomorrow? What if the cake is gone tomorrow?
Okay, so what the Buddha is teaching you to do is get to the point where you can be happy with the chocolate cake, but not because of the chocolate cake. You can enjoy the chocolate cake, but also you can enjoy when you don't have the chocolate cake. If you allow your mind to crave and have desire, that means you can only be happy when you have the chocolate cake. So you're limiting your ability to be happy. What the unenlightened mind does is it says, if my mom and dad are doing this, if my boss is doing this, if my brothers and sisters are doing this, if the weather is this, if my bank account is this, if I have this type of house and this type of car, then I will be happy. So you're limiting your happiness. This is called conditional happiness, that there needs to be certain conditions met in order for there to be happiness in the mind. That's very limiting because those things can't be true all the time because of impermanence. What the Buddha is teaching you how to accomplish, if that's what you choose, is to get to the point where you have unconditional happiness or unconditioned joy, where there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for you to be happy. And this is much more fulfilling. This is fulfilling. This conditional happiness, it's only temporary, and it can only exist in the mind as long as those conditions are met. So you go through a training period where you're going to need to step away from the chocolate cake, and you're going to need to train your mind to let it go mentally. And then maybe you do that for a few months, but then eventually your mind's going to let go. And now you can enjoy the chocolate cake. You can order the chocolate cake. And the thing is, though, that you will have been happy before you ever had the chocolate cake. And then if you have the chocolate cake, you were already happy before you had it. And if they don't have the chocolate cake, if it's not there, because sometimes it's not going to be there because of impermanence. Now, when you show up and they don't have your chocolate cake, you can still be happy. But if you allow your mind to continue to have craving, desire, attachment, you can only be happy when the chocolate cake is there. So your mind is not free, it's bound up. So you're welcome to continue to indulge in having that chocolate cake if you like, allowing that craving, desire, attachment to be in your mind, but now you're limiting your happiness. And that's called conditional happiness. What the Buddha is guiding you to be able to do, if you choose, is to get to unconditional happiness, where there doesn't have to be any condition met in order for you to be happy. And this is where your mind can always be joyful and always be happy. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay. Don't see any questions here or online. Okay, let's go to the next chapter. By the way, what you guys have here is you have the words of the Buddha. This is a reference that takes you back to the original source teachings in the Pali Canon, so you can see where this came from. And then you have words from me to be able to help you to be able to understand this and integrate it into your day-to-day life. The Buddha teaches very clear, very concise, and very precise, as you see. You don't need to interpret his teachings. You can see they're very clear and concise, but it helps to have a dedicated practitioner and a dedicated teacher to help you understand how these teachings connect to other teachings. So that's what I'm doing here, is to help you to be able to understand that. And I share guidance with students to be able to help them to understand. And this is part of what you'll get as part of downloading the books and all the free resources that I provide for you. So this is volume 3, chapter 2. Is there someone who would like to read this? Rachel, you going to read it? Sure. Oh, yeah, you can use one of those. Go for it. See how it goes.
Rare that one obtains the human state. Monks, suppose that this great earth had become one mass of water, and a man would throw a ring with a single hole upon it. An easterly wind would drive it westward, a westerly wind would drive it eastward, a northerly wind would drive it southward, a southerly wind would drive it northward. There was a blind turtle which would come to the surface once every 100 years. What do you think, monks? Would that blind turtle, coming to the surface once every 100 years, insert its neck into that ring with a single hole? It would be rare, Venerable Sir, that blind turtle coming to the surface once every 100 years would insert its neck into that ring with a single hole. So too, monks, it is rare that one obtains the human state. Rare that a Tathagata, an Arahant, a perfectly enlightened one, arises in the world. Rare that the teachings and discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata shines in the world. You have obtained that human state, monks. A Tathagata, an Arahant, a perfectly enlightened one, has arisen in the world. The teachings and discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata shines in the world. Therefore, monks, an effort should be made to understand. This is discontentedness. An effort should be made to understand. This is the cause of discontentedness. An effort should be made to understand. This is the elimination of discontentedness. An effort should be made to understand. This is the way leading to the elimination of discontentedness.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So whenever you're reading these similes or analogy or story like this, one of the things that I suggest you do when you're studying the teachings of the Buddha is just kind of close your eyes and just kind of imagine what it is that he's teaching you. This situation that he's describing is that the world is completely flooded, meaning the entire earth, the entire globe is flooded with water. And somebody takes a ring with a single hole and they toss it on the surface of the earth. And now the wind is blowing it all over the place, right? And that's what he's talking about. And now he's talking about this turtle that's underneath the surface of the water that comes up once every 100 years for a breath of air. And he says, what's the likelihood of that turtle inserting its neck into that single hole of the ring? Well, of course, we know that's very rare because the surface of the earth is so vast, right? And he asks his students that. This is one of the ways that the Buddha would teach, is that he would ask his students questions. And his students replied, it would be rare, Venerable Sir. You can see how respectful they are. He's respectful to his students. The students are respectful to him. Rare, Venerable Sir, that the blind turtle coming to the surface once every 100 years would insert its neck into that ring with a single hole. And now that his students understand that, now he's going to provide them a teaching. He said, so too, monks, it is rare that one obtains the human state. So getting into this human existence, it's very rare. The Buddha teaches this cycle of rebirth where there's 5 realms of existence. There's the hell realm, the animal realm, the afflicted spirit realm, which are like ghosts. There's the human realm, and there's the heavenly realm. As I've shared, there's no belief in the teachings of the Buddha, including these 5 realms of existence or the cycle of rebirth. You can actually independently verify that these things are actually true. You might not have the wisdom of how to do that right now, but there is the ability for you to cultivate that wisdom. So every single one of us have had countless births in the past. He gives analogies on this as well. He uses the water of the earth. He says that all the water of all the earth is less voluminous than all the blood that we've had in our body at different times in our various births. So if you take all those births and you total up all the blood that we've had in our body, that is more than the water of all the earth. And he talks about it in terms of drinking our mother's milk. He says that all the water in all the earth, he says we've actually drank more than that of our mother's milk in our previous lives. So he talks about these countless rebirths in the past. But now here you are in this human state. And in order to get into this human state, you would have had to made really wise decisions in the past to be able to get into this human state. And he says it's very rare that one obtains this human state. It's also very rare that a perfectly enlightened one arises in the world, right? This is what he's saying right here. A Tathagata. This is him referring to himself. This word means the one who discovers the truth or the one who shares the truth. So he referred to himself more frequently as the Tathagata. Even though we refer to him as the Buddha, he didn't always refer to himself that way. He would typically refer to himself as the Tathagata, the one who discovered the truth, the one who shares the truth. And when he says an Arahant, An arahant is how you describe an enlightened being during the lifetime of the Buddha. This is someone who's fully purified their mind. Any enlightened being is an arahant. But this particular enlightened being, a Tathagata, he goes on, he says, a fully perfectly enlightened one. That's what we refer to a Buddha as, is a fully perfectly enlightened one. So he's saying that it's very rare that there's a Buddha in the world, right? And then he says the teachings and discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata or the Buddha shines in the world. So these three things are very rare, that you get into the human state, that there's a Buddha that exists in the world, and during the period of time of the lifetime of a Buddha, the teachings are going to be shining in the world. This is very rare for these things to occur. So the fact that this is so rare for that to occur, the Buddha says, okay, monks, therefore, an effort should be made to understand. And what he's pointing to here is he's pointing to what's called the Four Noble Truths. This is his very first and beginning teachings, where he explains what is discontentedness, the cause of discontentedness, the elimination of it, and the path forward. In 4 simple statements, you can actually understand what is causing your discontent feelings, all your anger, sadness, frustration, and all those other discontent feelings. This is the very first part of the path to enlightenment. This isn't the Four Noble Truths themselves, but this is how he points to it. And he says you should make an effort to learn this, because if you learn the Four Noble Truths, that's where you can have a breakthrough to understanding what's causing your discontent feelings. This is the very beginning of the path to enlightenment. If you were going to take a hike on a hiking trail, there's typically like a trail marker at the beginning of the trail, and it's going to kind of give you an idea of what this trail is going to be. You know, it might say like, you know, you're going to walk 3 kilometers into the forest, you're going to walk over a stream, you're going to walk up a hill, you're going to turn, you're going to circle back, and now you're going to come back towards the parking lot, right? And now you kind of know from the trail marker what you're going to encounter on this journey. Well, the same thing's true about the Four Noble Truths. It's like a trail marker, helping you to understand what is the problem in your mind, what is the cause of that problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward. The problem that each unenlightened being is experiencing is discontentedness, those conditioned feelings. As long as your mind forms conditioned feelings, you will never get to permanent peace and permanent joy, because the mind can only be happy when certain conditions are met. If it's sunny outside, you'll be happy. If your bank account balance is up here, you're happy. If you get your piece of chocolate cake, you'll be happy, right? The problem with that is when your mind isn't getting that, you'll be sad or frustrated or angry or some other discontent feeling, right? So that's the problem that the unenlightened mind is experiencing, is that it experiences conditioned feelings. The cause of that is craving, desire, attachment. That's the second noble truth. The mind craves permanence while you live in an impermanent world. So you can take a recent situation where you've been angry or sad or frustrated and look at that situation. What was it that your mind wanted? What did you expect? What were you longing, yearning for? And if you would have gotten it, you would have been happy. But because the mind didn't get it, you were sad or angry or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. Because remember, the teachings of the Buddha aren't based in belief. You need to independently see the truth for yourself. Look at that situation. What was it? Did you show up to the airport and you were really excited to come to Thailand and you just couldn't wait to get here, and then your flight was delayed or it was canceled and you were frustrated and angry? That was the permanence that your mind was craving. I want every single airplane to take off on time. But that's not the case. You don't live in that world. You're going to run into delays because there's going to be crew issues, maintenance issues, weather issues. These airplanes are not permanent. You can't take off permanently on the exact schedule that you've booked for your ticket. It's just not possible. We live in an impermanent world. So you can look at your life and you can see that you're craving permanence. That's the cause of your discontentedness. When you were together with that boyfriend or girlfriend, you were so happy and excited. But when you guys broke up, you were angry or frustrated, or you were lonely or bored, or you were missing that person. That was the mind holding on, craving permanence. And as long as your mind was doing that, you weren't content, you weren't peaceful. But at some point, your mind let go. And when you let go, that's where your peace and your joy came back. So the second noble truth is explaining to you that it's the craving for permanence that's causing these feelings. The third noble truth is explaining the elimination of discontentedness. The elimination of discontentedness is when you eliminate your longing, yearning, your craving for permanence, you'll actually eliminate your discontentedness. That's why when you let go of your boyfriend or girlfriend mentally, that's when your peace and your joy came back. You were like, you know what? If he wants to be with someone else, so be it. And you let go and your peace came back. Or you know what? If she wants to move to a different part of the world, so be it. And you let go. And that's where your peace and your joy came back, right? So you can independently verify this through your own direct experience. That's the third noble truth, explaining to you to eliminate that longing, yearning, and craving for permanence. The fourth noble truth is explaining the way leading to the elimination of discontentedness, which is the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the core central teaching of the Buddha that is going to guide you to completely training your mind to be able to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state. I'm going to be teaching this on Monday morning, 2 days from now at 9 a.m. here. I'm going to be teaching the entire Eightfold Path using the original words of the Buddha. Because these teachings that I'm referencing, like the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and things like this, if you get online on the internet and you start searching for these things, you're going to find all kinds of resources where people are sharing what they're talking about as the Four Noble Truths or as the Eightfold Path. But those resources are oftentimes have significant misunderstandings in them. What you would like to actually be able to study with is the original words of the Buddha. That's what this book series is providing you. And then I encourage you not to believe it, but you learn it, examine it, investigate it, you reflect on it to independently verify it, and you practice it, integrating it into your day-to-day life. And then you'll see that it's the truth. So I caution you about going out and doing a bunch of internet searches to be able to find these teachings, because the vast majority of the resources that you'll find don't actually use the original words of the Buddha. But if you get these for free by downloading it from our website, you'll be able to see what the Buddha actually taught, and then you can actually examine it and study it and see for yourself. Because this Eightfold Path is the core central teaching of the Buddha that you would like to learn inside and out, backwards and forwards, and this is actually what's going to lead to your enlightenment. One of the ways you might think about it is that if you had a speaker system and you had 8 individual dials and you were tweaking those dials to get a better and better quality sound out of the speakers, the Eightfold Path is the same way. That there's these 8 factors that you can tweak in order to be able to get a better and better quality performing mind. So if you don't know what this teaching is and you haven't studied it before, an individual would be hindered from being able to experience what the Buddha is describing as enlightenment. Where when we grow up as a child, we're oftentimes taught to clean our body, but our parents didn't have the wisdom to teach us how to clean the mind. And if you walked around for several weeks or months or years without cleaning the body, you would be very uncomfortable. So if you've been walking around all these months and years without cleaning your mind, this is why you experience stress, anxiety, and all the other difficulties and struggles. And you need to learn how to clean the mind. And as you're cleaning the mind, now as you do that work, things only get better. They don't get worse. Because you can see in situations where you were once angry and frustrated and having these other feelings, that as you're training your mind with these teachings, you'll have those same situations and your mind's not experiencing those feelings any longer. That you'll see improvement to the condition of your mind in your life. So these teachings of the Buddha are to heal from what hurts you so that you never need to hurt ever again. But what's hurting you is not the outside world. It's actually the inner world. So that's why the Buddha is teaching you to train the mind, work on the mind. It's essentially like a self-help program to be able to help you learn, grow, and develop into a better and better individual. So here he's pointing to the Four Noble Truths because that's the very first teaching. And he's saying, hey, you've reached this human state. Don't allow it to go to waste. Don't be complacent. Don't just sit back and think that, my life is whatever it's going to be and just be indulgent and complacent. Instead, take active control of your life to be able to decide to learn and grow and develop on the path. And you can choose to do that if that's what your choice is. And you'll be able to see the improvement in your day-to-day life. So this is a teaching from the Buddha to not be complacent and pay attention to the Four Noble Truths, because that's the very first teaching to be able to get on the path to enlightenment. So any questions here on this particular chapter Remember, if you guys could use the mics here and then online, you could put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. So yes, ma'am. Yeah, you in the blue. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, like, in case, for instance, someone that probably is either born or from very young gets to a point of, like, let's say, I can understand the cravings as, like, particularly in my case, I have all of this. But what about the people that maybe have, instead of cravings, profound apathy towards the world, and that is like the cause of discontentness, and they don't want anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would that attachment, what would that craving be?
Yeah, so what the unenlightened mind can see very clearly is these two extremes, that you're either chasing, or you swing to the other side and you're indifferent and lazy and complacent. Neither of those is what the Buddha is teaching you to accomplish. That's the actual problem. What you would like to do is come to the middle, where you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, and interests with enthusiasm and ambition and motivation. But the mind doesn't know how to do that because it's either chasing or it's exhausted from chasing and it swings all the way to the other side. So this individual over here is typically craving permanent comfort, right? And they want to be comfortable all the time. They don't want to do anything. So in order to get to enlightenment, an individual is going to have vigor and vitality in their mind. They're going to have initiative, a willingness to do something. They're not just going to sit around with, like you're saying, apathy or indifference or laziness. That's not going to produce peace and joy in that situation. Mm-hmm. Some other questions? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get a microphone, or we have them right here too. Mm-hmm.
So it's linked to the first chapter, and it's about expectation, having expectation, etc. So my question is, how do you link the Buddha's teaching? Do you link the Buddha's teaching to, people working?
How do I link the Buddhist teachings to people working in the Western world? Yeah, it's still on, actually. Yeah, it's just impermanent that the signal will cut out every once in a while. Yeah.
Because, okay. So, when if you think about big cities, people go and work there and they need to hit targets, and there are expectations upon which either you keep your job or you lose your job. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking about us, like when we go back to where we live,
sure,
to our normal job. How do we apply the Buddha's teaching and basically like balance it?
Yeah, so you're going to need to learn the entire Eightfold Path. There's nothing that I can share with you in 3 minutes or 5 minutes. A reply to your question is going to instantly change what you experience when you go back to work. You're going to need to know the entire Eightfold Path. And that's what I'm going to be teaching on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Because it's not the fact that you have a job or that you have these bosses or boss that's trying to get you to perform certain things. That's not the problem. The problem is that the mind adopts this craving, desire, attachment. The boss says, hey, I need you to sell 10 houses in 3 months. And now somebody adopts that into their mind as a craving. And they push and push and push and push and push, sacrificing all the sometimes basic things in their life, like spending time with their friends and family, or even eating and sleeping and things like this. They're just pushing themselves because they're chasing that money, or they're chasing the acknowledgement of their boss that they are a good worker. This is the mind chasing. But also, like we were just talking about, if you swung to the other side where you just sat around and you could care less about whether you perform at work or not, you're not going to be able to maintain a career and develop your career. So you need to learn how to come to the middle where you can gradually pursue those goals. But oftentimes people don't understand this word goal. Right now, if you're setting goals and you get really happy when you accomplish your goal, and you get really sad and frustrated or angry when you don't accomplish your goal, that's not actually a goal. That's a craving, desire, attachment masquerading as a goal. A true goal is something that you can work your way towards through wise decision making, and whether you accomplish it or not, you can maintain your peacefulness or joy. So using this example of my boss has said, you need to sell 10 houses in 3 months. Let's just say I've sold 8 houses. And I'm like, I'm a week away from when my boss expected me to do this, and I've only gotten to 8 houses. Well, that was a pretty big accomplishment. So you know what? Let me just go talk to the boss. Let me just go have a conversation with him or her and let them know that, hey, I'm not able to meet this goal. I don't have any other clients in the pipeline, and there's no way for me to be able to meet this goal. If you like, you can extend my timeline, and I will be able to sell 10 houses within 4 months, perhaps, or you could help to add more resources to this, maybe give me some more help. That would be another way that we could solve this. Or you could just kind of be happy with the 8 and understand that I worked really hard and I did all my best that I could do, and I was able to accomplish 8, right? So you can do this with a calm mind, and that's what the Buddha is teaching you how to do. But you won't be able to do that just by me explaining it to you right now. You might be able to intellectually understand what I'm sharing, but your mind won't do that because it hasn't been trained to do it. That's why you like to be able to learn and practice the Eightfold Path, so you can learn how to pursue all the things in your life through goals, objectives, or interests. Even me right here, my goal in this life is to be able to restore the teachings of the Buddha back into the world in such a way that countless people can get to enlightenment, just like was occurring during the lifetime of the Buddha. But I do that day by day, one decision at a time. I'm not longing, yearning, and chasing after it. And I'm also not dull and lethargic and lazy and indifferent either. I'm just gradually making decision day by day to be able to gradually work towards this goal. If I was longing, yearning, and craving for it, that means if I showed up here and there was a very limited number of students, I'd be angry or frustrated or sad because there's not any students here. Because when I first started teaching here, people didn't know I was teaching here. And sometimes there would be 0 people here. I would show up and there'd be nobody here. Where now, typically when I show up, there's people all the way to the back wall, right? It's full. That's coming from wise decision after wise decision after wise decision. So I'm not chasing it, but I'm also not indifferent and could care less either. And that's what the mind needs to learn how to do, is how to pursue things with enthusiasm and ambition and vigor, vitality, with initiative, but not form your feelings based on what is occurring. But the mind can't do that until you fully learn the Eightfold Path and you practice it closely. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Hello, Venerable Sir.
Mm-hmm.
With no offense, I just wonder if the Buddha's teaching you described is too ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Because the example you just wrote about the boss is what I have been experiencing and suffering for the past 4 years. I am very stressed at work because I work under a very manipulative boss who is very judgmental towards me. Mm-hmm. And she is certainly not the kind of boss that you could just go to her, say, let's have a calm talk, or if you could give me, like you can treat me more fairly, just like others. Like all those things couldn't just work with her. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, how is the Buddha's teaching going to help me if I suddenly know that the cause of my discontentness is exterior? Mm-hmm. Say I took on the program and I learned, I become a better person, but she doesn't. Mm-hmm. So I'm really a bit confused here as how is the teaching going to help me? Yeah.
Sure. The way it's going to help you is it's going to teach you to not hold on and cling to that boss and hold on and cling to that job. Because if you have a boss who's judgmental, who's aggressive and hostile and bitter and constantly demanding things of you, well, the wise thing to do would be to get a new boss, right? But if you're holding on and you're clinging, you're like, no, I want this to work, and you're trying to force it, then you're just going to be discontent. Your mind's causing that itself. Whereas if the mind keeps thinking it's the boss that's the problem, and I need to change the boss, now you're stuck because your mind's holding on to the boss, you're holding on to the job, you're holding on to the salary, you're holding on to the coworkers, you're holding on to all these different things, and the mind doesn't want to let go and just go find a new boss, someone who could mentor you and be more of a guide to you and to be less judgmental and be able to set goals and objectives with you. So that's where the teachings of the Buddha are going to help you. So it is the ideal life. If you live the way that the Buddha taught and you train your mind this way, it is the ideal life, but I wouldn't describe it as too ideal. It's just that right now it sounds so foreign to you because in your question, you think that if I change, but nobody else changes, how does that help me? Because this path isn't about changing other people. If you change your mind, you can get along with everybody and anybody, right? But if you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, you can only get along with people who do things your way. That's the only way. So you're going to, as an enlightened being, you're going to encounter people who are judgmental. You're going to encounter people who are harsh and bitter and hostile. It's going to happen from time to time, but your mind can be at ease. But in the unenlightened state, you'll be frustrated. You'll be angry because you want it to be a certain way. Your mind's craving this permanence. And you can only be happy when somebody acts that way. And when they do this over here, you don't like it. By the time you get to enlightenment, that's not the case. So you don't need other people to change. The Buddha didn't go out into the world and try to change other people. He changed his own mind. And by changing his own mind, he was able to get to peace and joy. So by you learning and practicing and training your mind to not crave, now you can not have expectations of your boss because your boss is putting expectations on you, but you also have expectations of your boss too. Otherwise, your mind wouldn't be discontent in that situation.
But isn't craving for peace also a sort of craving?
Yeah. That's why you don't crave it, right? So if you long and yearn for something, that's the craving, desire, attachment. But it's not the object itself. I'm interested in seeing this world become utterly peaceful and joyful, but I know it's not going to happen during my lifetime. These teachings need to be able to be shared widely throughout the entire world. So I'm not longing, yearning, and chasing it. I'm just gradually making decisions each day towards it. So I'll give you this analogy so you can understand that the craving, desire, attachment is not the object. Okay? Let's just say that I was going on a hike and I had a liter of water in my car. And then when I pull up to the trail, I get out of the car and I forgot my water in the car. And now I'm out on the trail 30 minutes down the trail. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my water. Oh, I forgot my water. And now I hurry up and go back to the car, sling open the door. My water. Okay? But then there could be another person out on the trail and they could be like, I forgot my water. I'm going to be out here for a while. I'm going to turn around and go get that water. And now you calmly make your way back to the car to get your water. And now you can go on your hike, right? The object's the same. It's the water. The difference is the first person had a craving, desire, attachment. They were craving for their water to be permanent. And when they realized they didn't have their water, their mind was all shaken up. The second person realized, I don't have my water. I'm just going to go get my water. No big deal. This water is impermanent. Right? So the issue that the unenlightened mind is experiencing is not the fact that this peace is something that is obtainable and that is available for you. It's the way that the mind longs and yearns for it. So the peace isn't the problem. The boss isn't the problem. The house, the car, the life partner, all these things aren't the problem. It's the way that the mind is longing, yearning for it to be permanent. So you can pursue peace as a goal, objective, or interest. You don't have to chase after it. If you chased after it with craving, desire, attachment, you'll never actually get to peace. But if you gradually work towards it, you can obtain it. But just like if you chased after peace, you would never get it. But also if you were all the way on the other side where you could care less about what you experience in your day-to-day life and you were indifferent, you're not going to get to peace and joy there either because you're not doing the work to grow and develop into a better and better human being. So the Buddha is teaching you to come to the middle and gradually work towards goals, objectives, or interests through wise decision making and not form your feelings on whether or not you accomplish that thing or not, which is very different than the way you currently live your life because that's what the Buddha taught. He didn't say, I discovered a new religion. He didn't say, here, follow all these rules. Here, do these rites and rituals and ceremonies. Here, believe all these things. That's not what he did. Is he's helping you to be able to understand true reality of how your mind is actually functioning. So now you can train your mind, work with it skillfully, get rid of these pollutions. And now when you retrain your mind, you can gradually work towards these goals, objectives, or interests. What the Buddha shared is, I discovered a better way of life. And here is that better way of life. But that better way of life sounds so foreign to you because you've never actually chosen to learn it and practice it. And when you choose to learn it and practice it, you'll see that it actually works. Because right now, what your mind does is chases, or it swings to the other side, or it's dull and lethargic and exhausted and tired. And there's a better way of life here, which is the middle way. But the mind needs to learn how to do that. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. I don't see. Another question? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. We have talked about angry, hostility, loneliness, etc. And my question is, are these bad things? Because I think if someone is going to hurt me or challenge my boundaries, I will get angry. So as a Buddhist, what should I do if others show angry or hostility? Should I always show kindness?
If someone's angry and hostile, the best thing you can do is walk away. That's the best thing you can do, because that person is angry and hostile and bitter because of what's going on in their own mind. It's their own craving, desire, attachment. They're causing their anger, and there's nothing you can do to actually fix their anger. They have to choose to eliminate their craving, desire, attachment. And since you mentioned it, the whole idea of boundaries that people talk about today, this is a craving, desire, attachment. This is the mind trying to teach other people what they should or shouldn't be doing for you. This is the mind going around the world and trying to teach other people how you want them to interact with you. This will never lead to your peacefulness and joy. That's why you say, if someone crosses my boundaries, I get angry. That's because it's a craving, desire, attachment, where the mind says, this is how I want everyone to interact with me. And if they don't do that, I'm going to get angry. So now you have 8 billion people in the world that you need to go around and teach them all your boundaries, right? Good luck with that. You're never going to get to peace and joy that way. So instead, you just understand what's wise and unwise, and you make the decisions to have the experiences that you would like to have. So if you're around somebody and they're becoming bitter and hostile and harsh, you just choose to walk away. But if you're angry and frustrated when that's occurring, just walking away isn't going to fix it. You need to eliminate your craving for everybody to be a certain way, because not everyone in the world is going to be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful to you. Even when you get to enlightenment, you're still going to have occasional people who are impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful. But the difference is you won't be upset and angry about that because you understand impermanence. You'll be able to just walk away, right? But in the unenlightened state, you'll have craving and you'll have ego, and you won't want to walk away. You'll say, who are you to talk to me like that? Don't you know who I am? You know, blah, 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 blah. You'll stand there and want to fight, right? This is what two unenlightened beings do. They function like wild animals, and two wild animals are going to try to fight to death, right? So that's not what you're interested in doing. You're interested in becoming a better and better human being, where now you can understand, this person's bitter and harsh and hostile. I didn't cause it. And you know what? The longer that I stay here, that's unwise for me, because they're going to start making a bunch of unwise decisions through their anger, and let me just walk away. And when they become more angry, when you walk away, that's their mind having craving and holding on to you. And now the best thing you can do is walk away from that person. That's what's going to allow their mind to ultimately let go. So that's the best thing you can do in those situations. And maintain your loving kindness, meaning you have a genuine interest in seeing this person be well, but understand that they are responsible for their own wellness. You are not responsible for other people's wellness. In fact, you can't make somebody else well. It's through their own decisions that are going to lead to their wellness. So when you're walking away, the more angry they become, use that as helping you to be able to see that you're making a wise decision, because as long as you stay in that situation, they're just going to be becoming more and more angry, and their mind's never going to let go. But when you walk away, it actually allows their mind to let go, and then they can actually get to peace and joy. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? No other questions? Okay, so I'm just going to end class by thanking all of you guys for joining. I really appreciate your interest to learn and grow and develop. Understand that this path to enlightenment that the Buddha shares with you is going to sound very different than what it is that you do in your life right now, and that's actually a really good thing. If you know that you're angry and you're frustrated, you have bitterness and hostility, you have difficulties in your relationships, and you hear this better way of life, of course, it's different than what you currently do right now in your life. And that's a very good thing. Because if you keep doing the same things that you're doing, if you keep thinking in the same way that you're thinking, you're going to keep experiencing the same things in your life that you're experiencing right now. But this better way of life that the Buddha is teaching you, it sounds very different than what it is the way that you live your life right now. And that's the cultivation of wisdom that you need to have in order to be able to understand how to improve what it is that you experience on a day-to-day life. So if you're in a classroom where a teacher is teaching you all the things that you already think you know about the world, well, you're in the wrong classroom because you're not learning and growing and developing and cultivating new wisdom. So the teachings of the Buddha are going to help you to be able to see in areas that right now you're thinking in ways that are potentially unwise. And that's really helpful for you to then be able to ask questions to get information to be able to help you. So as you guys would like to learn and grow and develop, there's plenty of opportunities for you to do that. Tomorrow, there's the group learning program on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Tomorrow also, I'm going to be teaching at Wat Tung, which is a forest temple, at 1:30. You guys are welcome to come to that if you like. I'm going to be teaching what is true love, because today is Valentine's Day. For some people, they celebrate that, and you might be interested to understand what love is. If you're falling in love with people and out of love with people, you haven't yet understood what love is. And therefore, as long as you don't understand what love is, you're not practicing true love. So therefore, you're not going to be able to experience true love. So if you're interested in understanding what true love is and how to practice it, I'm going to be teaching at Wat Tung at 1:30 in Building 6. You guys are welcome to come if you like. It's just about 15 or 20 minutes outside the city. But at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. tomorrow, I'll be here teaching. And then at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow as well, I'll be teaching here. This is going to sync up to the night walking market outside, where I'll be guiding students in meditation and then opening up to any and all questions that you like. So tomorrow, I'll be doing a lot of teaching. And then all next week, we have the Harmony and Relationships course from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you're welcome to attend any parts of that you like as well. So whatever you choose to do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. Perhaps we'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.